Now that we're into 2020, you may be thinking about getting a new website for your business, but how much should you be paying? Is it possible to have a beautiful customer generating website no matter how much you have in your budget? There are a ton of options out there and it can get really confusing, especially if you're just starting out. Today I'm going to break it all down and give you some of the different avenues you can take in creating your new website. And by the end of the video, you're going to know your options and what you can expect to pay for each one. I'll even give you some of my best recommendations on what you should really be paying for and what you can probably skip to save some money. Before we get to all the different options, it is important for you to know that some designers will charge based on the number of pages, and some will charge based on that overall complexity of the project. So it'll be up to your available resources to pick what's gonna work best for your unique situation. So let's start with the first option, and that is the DIY website. So now this may not sound like a really appealing option, and most web providers like me would tell you to never go this route, but I'm not gonna do that. There actually is a case to be made for DIYing your website in certain cases. So with DIY websites, you don't really need to have any coding or web development skills. All you need is a computer and an internet connection, and with that alone, you can access any of the available DIY website platforms on the market. With this option, I suggest that you write down what you want to do with your website. In other words, what are your goals and what features would you like to see on your website, or more importantly, what's needed on your website? So if you're unsure about what you want, then you can check out your competitors or other websites for inspiration. Most website builders that are out there offer a drag and drop user interface to build your website. It makes it really super simple, and most of them actually do offer you trial accounts, which is the perfect way for you to test drive the platform before you make your final decision and drop any money on it. Now let's talk about the pros and cons of a DIY website. So obviously, the first pro is it's cost effective, right? That's the main reason to do this. It's a much cheaper way of getting a website up and running for startups and bootstrap businesses, since you aren't hiring someone to do it. Another pro is you don't need any coding or web development experience yourself to do it, and you can get up and running in just a few hours. And the cons are basically an overall lack of planning and strategy, since all these DIY web builders do offer a way of making a site that may look nice, but they offer zero help with getting you customers. That's not a priority for it. It's usually an ongoing monthly cost, meaning you're only renting your site from that web builder. Next, there's a learning curve for users when you're navigating most of these platforms. Customization is limited for the lower tier plans. And this is a big one. You cannot move your website to other DIY or non-DIY platforms if you ever wanted to. So now let's talk cost. That's why you're here, to know the pricing, right? So for most DIY website builders where you're kind of renting the website, you're looking at a cost between $20 and $40 a month. Here's what you need to remember for DIY websites. The main cost with this option is going to be your time. So don't be surprised if it could take you, 20 hours to produce a decent quality website that you can be proud of. And that's assuming you're already a little familiar with what goes into a good website. But there is a really cool way to build your site yourself with WordPress and a free plugin, which eliminates most of these cons, and I'll explain that more later in this video. Now, here's the next option, which is to hire a freelance designer. Now, this is probably the most common way for small businesses to go, because when you hire a freelancer, it really balances the cost and the quality of the final product, which is, of course, your website. It's also a stable middle ground between doing everything yourself and not doing anything yourself. So let's talk about that more. Here are the pros and cons when it comes to hiring a freelance designer. Pros, it can be pretty cost effective. Next, they can deliver quality work, and you can explore a wide range of custom options. Now let's talk about the cons. So most freelance designers will likely focus purely on design, with no emphasis on the customer generation strategy. It's just not really what they're trained in. No ongoing support and maintenance, most likely, and no guarantees that they'll do a good job. because you don't really have any real recourse with customer service of a larger company if it doesn't work out. Now the price range here can vary greatly, anywhere from about $500 to $10,000 or more, depending on their skill level and experience. But I really want you to be careful when it comes to, budget pricing when you're pricing out freelancers, because unusually low prices usually mean they're pretty new or inexperienced. And of course, the saying goes, you usually get what you pay for. And yes, freelancers can be affordable, but they'll almost always focus on the design part, not on what really matters, which is that customer generation strategy. So if this is going to be a successful project, you'll definitely want to develop that strategy yourself and then bring that to the freelancer to basically carry out for you. And I do have a free training that will show you exactly how to do that. Just click on the link right up here. So now let's head into a slightly more expensive option, which is hiring a boutique agency. So boutique agencies are more or less specialized agencies with a few different areas of expertise, and they typically operate with a smaller team. And because of that smaller size of most boutique agencies, they tend to have smaller client lists. Plus, they have multiple team members who basically own different parts of the project, so you can let them handle all of the strategic, design, and technical work. And here are the pros and cons for a boutique agency. All right, pros. So first, it can still be cost effective for small to mid-sized companies because this usually starts around $10,000, and it'll typically start with a discovery phase, so they can design and build something that's actually going to bring you more customers or clients. Some offer complementary services to web development, such as design and marketing. All right, now the cons. The team size can prevent taking on a large number of clients, so they may not be able to get to you right away. Also, highly customized websites with several different pages can take longer to complete. So the cost from a boutique agency for a custom website starts at around $10,000 and can just go up from there depending on what you need. Now, you don't usually have to pay all at once. So most require a deposit, usually about 50%, and a few progress payments along the way, but it's definitely going to need to be paid in full once the project wraps up. And the next choice on our list are traditional agencies. Now, this is definitely the most costly option to build a new website because traditional agencies are larger in size, they take on bigger projects, have longer client lists, and they operate with large teams that can handle many projects at a time. And while it may seem like a good choice if you do have a bigger budget, there are some pros and cons to consider here too before you hire that traditional agency. Let's start with the pros. So the first pro is they have the ability to create a fully customized and really sophisticated websites. They also work in large teams that can get big projects completed much more quickly. And the biggest pro of all is they will generally spend a lot of time on that strategy. That's generally one of the main things they focus on before they even start designing. So now cons, the rates are just not cost effective for small to mid-sized companies. Also, you'll most likely be interacting with account reps instead of the team that's actually building the site for you. And if you happen to be on the smaller end of the clients they work with, their lower scale web projects aren't generally viewed as high a priority compared to their larger projects. And the cost here can start at around $20,000. So for all those reasons, because it's so expensive, I don't think it's the most cost-effective option for most small businesses out there, so I don't really recommend going that route. But if you have the budget, and you have a big company, then you might want to consider this option. So what's the best thing you can do to build a great website? The thing I recommend you do, the best thing you can do is to hire someone who will help you develop a customer generation strategy and then design the website based on that strategy. And again, this will typically run about $10,000 or more. But don't worry, if that's not in your budget, the next best thing you can do is watch my free training video masterclass, which is going to show you exactly how to develop that strategy yourself. It'll also show you how you can create and launch your own website in a weekend, or you can just take what you learn in the training and be in a much better position to hire a freelance designer who can work with you to bring your new strategy to life. Now, I really cannot wait to share my best frameworks for nailing down your messaging, what pages you need, which pages you don't need, and finally, how to use WordPress and a really powerful page building plugin to quickly and easily design a pro-level website. The same kind I charge over $10,000 for, actually. So click right over here to get into that special training, and I'll see you there.